right, so let's have a conversation. This is Dr. Amy Davis coming here with episode 12, and I have my guest, Mrs. Veronica Williams. We're going to be discussing handling rejection and finding your purpose. Mrs. Williams, she's a master certified life coach. She's also a wife. She is a co-founder of the Alliance Seminars Coaching, which is a veteran-owned faith-based organization. She empowers women and couples, coaching them. Originally from Compton, California, now lives in the DC, DMV area. She's influenced women, strengthened couples nationwide. She's also, like I said, a licensed minister, and she has coached a lot of military wives to help them through the challenges of being a military wife, basically, because that is a challenge.
Yes,
And
it is.
well, I don't know that personally because I'm not a military wife, never been a wife, but she has. So I will turn it over to her to let her introduce herself a little bit more before we delve into our topic, handling rejection and finding purpose. So, Mrs. Williams.
Hi, Dr. Amy. Thank you for having me. In addition to all that you said, I'm also a wife that has been married 25 years. I am a mom of 3. And as you mentioned, I've worked with couples, women, empowering them. And for the couples, those that are pre-engaged, and I like to say that have hiccups, been married, but need someone to just come help them navigate through life. And that's about it.
All right. So can you explain, because I know I often get it mixed up as well, the difference between coaching and counseling? Because I know a lot of us will get that mixed up.
Yes, for coaching, we talk about things from today moving forward. If there's anything that is from your past that cannot be resolved today, or things that are coming up that are interfering in your prospering and living today's life, or if it's things that you didn't know that was going to come up and they're come back to you, that's when you either need, if you're married, we would suggest marriage counseling, or either if you're not married, and even if you are married, you would get personal counseling through some type of therapist, whether it's a psychotherapist or a therapist that can really help you navigate through the specific area of your need.
All right. So on this topic, handling rejection, I know myself, I've been rejected before. I'm sure we all have been rejected. I like to, when I conversate about rejection, I think about 2 parts of it. You can have self-rejection, and you can also have, being rejected by others. Can you kind of discuss with us ways that we can, deal with rejection and navigate through rejection?
Yes. Something else to ask them.
Yeah, offer us ways, especially us that, have that self-rejection, that don't accept, ourselves the way, we presently are. We're not living in the present.
Yes. So there's a couple of things there that I hear you saying. When you talk about self-rejection, if that's self-rejection, it's really, is it from someone else? And then, self-rejection. When you talk about the self-rejection part of it, I think you have to develop ways to know who you are. How do you do that? I work on me. I work on getting some good skills, or whether it's interaction with other people, personality. I think the first thing with self-rejection is working on you. Identifying those areas that make you uncomfortable and make you feel insecure,
Mhm.
and that allow you to feel inadequate. Because a lot of times when I see that people are having some self rejection, it's something that you're not feeling. So you have to build on skills that would help you with self esteem. If you have a negative outlook for you and you're a Debbie Downer, I don't want to say it like that, Debbie. Sorry, but if you but if you're an individual that feel like nothing's going to work out, or you feel afraid, the only way to know is to walk through that fear, and realize that it and kind of make sure that it doesn't affect you. But no is a complete statement, and being rejected, like no, not right now. I think you have to identify what type of rejection it is. Is it temporary? Is it something that's been there all the time that I just feel low about myself? And then just finding ways to encourage yourself from within, and
Mhm.
then finding material to read, talking with different people. You could talk with the coach, you could talk with a therapist, whichever area of need that is deepest. If it's really deep and it's something that when you were younger, when you were in your teens, early adulthood, and it's still haunting you and you just can't seem to shake it, I think that's when you need to just take a pause, identify what it really is that's going on, that you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and find ways, organizations and therapists, people, to help you sort out that particular feeling of your rejection. Because the number one thing is that you just want to rebuild your confidence. And by taking that time to just pause, think about everything, figuring out solutions, and the thing is, for someone that's going through it, they was like, I don't know what it is. Well, just dig a little deeper. Whether it takes you to journal, to really
Mhm.
identify your thought, to really give examples of I feel this way when what happens, what stirs up that low self-esteem, and so you would do that for self-worth, I would say, for starters in dealing with self-rejection.
That's good. But I know a lot of people are journaling. I'm not a journaler myself because I feel when I start to journal, I've tried it before. It just doesn't work for me. But I appreciate the fact you said it because there's a lot of people out there that are journaling. I was also thinking about affirmations,
Yes,
like
the words of
saying,
affirmations are
yeah,
really great. Like, you're wonderful, you're beautiful. But I
yeah,
think also people need to just look in the mirror. One thing that will be helpful is if you look in the mirror and you say, I see you. If you feel others don't see you, look in the mirror and you say, I see you. I see me. Because, that's some of the things we want. We're not being recognized. We're not feeling that I'm being noticed.
hmm,
Um, I'm doing all these things, but nobody is seeing me. Nobody is hearing my cry out that I want to be seen. So sometimes just going in the mirror and doing that. I find journaling as therapeutic. I used to journal. Haven't journaled in a while now, but when I journaled, I did it from a spirituality perspective, whereas I would read a scripture in the Bible and I
hmm,
would journal on that. I would journal on that scripture. What did I get out of it? And did it, and I would always look at scriptures that was centered around whatever I was experiencing. And I would write how I'm feeling, and then I would write a prayer at the end. So it really doesn't have to be long, drawn out times. In fact, I was just sharing this story with my daughter the other day about journaling, and I was telling her when I journaled, I listened to music, whether it was classical music or whether it was really soft instrumental music, not so much other people singing, but it was more the instrumental music, because
hmm,
that put me in a mindset not to have all the noise. And it was
exactly.
soft, and I can really gather my own personal thoughts, and I can kind of declutter the thoughts that others might have said to me throughout that day that might have impacted how I'm feeling and what I'm going through or experiencing with rejection. But I think those areas where you feel the most rejected and when it occurs and how it occurs, it's going back and finding those solutions, or finding a solution, or finding something to help build you back up. Because we can get bent out of shape, and we can get, really moved by so much that takes us out of our mindset, or take us out of our comfort zone, and allows the self-confidence to go away. So you have to kind of build up who you are. Know that no matter what people say to you, it really don't matter. Don't put too much into people's opinions, thoughts, and about you. And know your self-worth. Know your self-worth and value yourself. No one else has to value you. And whatever, I don't feel pretty enough. Well, you are pretty. Does it really take makeup? No, I want the natural me. I don't want to do all this other stuff. I just want to be the natural me, whether it doesn't have to be makeup, lipstick, or whatever. Just wash your face, clean it up. There's a lot of little moisturizing sprays that gives your face a vibrant look. So something like that, doing things that perk you out, going to the beach. How about just taking a nice drive? And if you're really down and low, maybe driving might not be the safest way. Let me put that there. But finding something, maybe walking, and the affirmations, I love that. And then there's some other meditations you can do that would help encourage you to not feel the rejection, or to not let the impact of rejection be so impactful to disrupt your emotions, disrupt your physical being. But knowing who you are, no matter what, and I say it all the time, you're more than enough, right? Yes. You have all the things in you. You just have to let them shine. You have to let them come out. And what we do is we work on ourselves, because we can't change people and people can't change us. But what we can do, we have the control to change ourselves and do those things that are necessary for you to feel good about yourself, for you to have that self-confidence, to be motivated, to be encouraged, to move forward and not stay stuck in that moment.
Exactly. I like when you said, go look in the mirror and say, I see you. I see you. I see me. And that can work with both self-rejection and being rejected by others.
Yes, and for rejecting by others, even when you're dating and there's a breakup, pause about dating, search yourself. Don't do the blaming. Because sometimes it's really a natural breakup that probably should happen for your good and for the other person's good. You don't have to, when you know your self-worth and when you know who you are, you're not going to beg someone to be with you. That's the worst thing you can do, is to beg someone to be with you. Yeah. But the only person you can beg to be with you is yourself. It's like, let me learn how to just love me. How about that?
Amen.
The person didn't love me the way that I wanted to be loved. How about I just love on myself? And it's not even selfish, because no one can take care of you than you providing your own self-care. I think the biggest mistake we make is relying on someone else for our validation.
Yes.
And that's when we cannot handle rejection. But if you don't put 100% into the person's validation, and you know your self-worth, you know who you are, you realize, I'm confident, I'm beautiful, I am who God created, I'm uniquely and wonderfully made. Now, God, just work on that part. So to encourage me to know that, right? I read it in the Bible, I might hear it, and the affirmations that you read, do you believe them? Or are you just saying them? Exactly. Is it giving you encouragement and to just say, okay, I'm gonna walk out of here bold today.
Yeah.
It takes that. But don't look for other people's validation, and just find out who you are. Oftentimes when we're dating, we're just that. It's just dating. It's not a solidified relationship. Oftentimes we kind of make that up in our own mind, and two people may have different views of what their relationship is. But you have to have the critical conversation to identify, what is our status for real? Here's what I'm thinking. Am I off base? Do I have some unrealistic expectations of you? Because I thought you were only dating me. I didn't know I wasn't the only one you were dating. I thought I was your girlfriend, or I thought I was your partner, but that's not the message I'm getting. So we need to have that genuine, real, down home conversation without our feelings on our sleeve, no emotions tied to it, and just allow the reality to exist.
Definitely. We hear that saying, rejection is God's protection. You hear that a lot. I know I heard TD Jake say that, rejection is God's protection.
Yes, we don't often.
You go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, I hear that a lot. And, along with the affirmations, how they say, once you do something for a period of, 6 weeks to 9 weeks, it becomes a habit. So when you're doing those affirmations, do them daily. Don't just, more than a week, more than a month. And then it just gets into your mind and in your heart, and it becomes a habit, and you'll be thinking, oh, I didn't do my affirmations today. So I encourage people. I know myself, I'm guilty too. I'll start, because I have this affirmations book on my Audible, and I'll listen to them in my car, and I sometimes won't listen to it the next day. So you get in the habit of doing it every day. That way, if you miss a day, you'll know, okay, I missed my affirmation. I need to listen to my affirmations to pick you up, especially on those days you're feeling down, or if you feel that low confidence. So that's definitely one thing I would suggest also for people.
Yes, I like the affirmations, but in addition to the affirmation is perhaps having a daily devotion of reading the Bible.
Yes.
But also for those that are faith-based, prayer.
Yes.
Praying to God and sitting there after you pray to hear his small, still voice as to how he wants to speak to you, right? That's one of the things that I would also add to affirmations. They're good, but we also need to hear sometimes when we're praying, we will get the answer from God as to what is happening, what direction he's leading us in. I like that the rejection is God's protection. Oftentimes we don't even realize why we have to break up. It's some time down the line, hindsight, they say. But a lot of times when we can take off the blinder and we can see the red flags for what the red flags are.
Yeah.
And we don't really need no one else to tap us on the shoulder and tell us. We know, but we're not comfortable. We're still in denial. We still don't understand what really took place. We say we don't really know what took place, and that's because we keep trying to move forward without taking time to recover from the rejection and to rebuild that self-confidence that is necessary, and to learn to identify the situation that has gone on, and from that, learn from that to try not to make the repetitive mistakes. I'm always saying, if it's rejection from someone else, because that's oftentimes when we really get beat down and we start feeling really cast out, our lowest of lows, I would say really look at the situation, learn from it, and ensure that you're in a situation where you won't make that same repeated situation, and you can recognize when you're going back in that route. And the reason why I say take a pause sometimes in dating in between, Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times when we have a breakup or a situation happens in a relationship, the first thing some people do is like, oh, let me find the next. Let me just go right here. And so you
Yeah.
find yourself on a roller coaster of being on the rebound, and on the rebound meaning that you're just going to accept anything. You just want to not be lonely. You don't
Yeah.
want to be by yourself. You don't know what it feels like, especially if it's been a long lasting relationship and it was that. But make sure you do pause in that dating time and give yourself space.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like grief. Give yourself to grieve it. It's
Yeah.
okay, you know, but don't stay in it. Just say, okay, I just got to work on me. I got to figure out what is going to happen that I can work on myself to move from this. Not only move from it, but how am I going to grow from this? How am I going to learn how to identify red flags in relationships? How am I going to identify um, the road to a bad situation coming that's not going to get any better? Don't isolate yourself with people. A lot of times when we're going through, we don't want our friends to know, we don't want our families to know. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes outside of people just saying, oh, you shouldn't be with them, the real people that are going to hold you accountable are going to really tell you the truth. So be
Exactly.
open to the truth. Um, don't be a denier. Just be open to the truth. It is what it is. We say that all the time, but what does that mean? And what it
Mm-hmm.
means is that this situation has occurred. There's nothing I can do. I don't have the control of it. So I have to let it be. And I now have to
Yeah.
take control of me and how I'm going to respond and how I'm going to move forward.
I was thinking when you said that when you have a breakup or you've been rejected, that's a good time to journal too. Take out your journal and start writing down, okay, what was some things that was a non-negotiable with that relationship? What are some things that were revealed to me? That way, when you do decide to get into another relationship, you'll know, okay, well, these are some things in my previous relationship that I couldn't put up with. I'm not gonna put up with that again. So, and I know a lot of people talk about their preferences and their standards, but I feel like that's important, and along with, being rejected from people, you learn. It's a learning process. It's an experience. It'll teach you, okay, this was just a lesson. This was a lesson. And when I see those signs again, it's just gonna let me know, okay, this is something I can't tolerate. And I know it kind of sounds like, oh, you got your wall up and you won't let a lot of people in, but then it's like you guarding your heart. So how do you coach people that have their wall up too high because they've been in that, experience or been through it too much to where they won't let a person in at all?
Well, let me just start here. It is okay to have morals, values, and some standards.
Yes.
But what we have to identify them are they realistic?
Yes.
Are they unrealistic? And if it's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. If think of a construction site, you see it all the time. They have yellow tape and they say hard hat beyond this point. The
Yes.
problem is we don't put on a hard hat and we cross over the tape. Now we're in this head-on collision with this relationship when we knew
Mm-hmm.
to heed the caution, right? And we needed a hard hat to go into it. And so I look at it like that. I look at it like sometimes it's so subtle and sometimes it's so visual and it's so evident, but we don't want to
Mm-hmm.
believe it.
I know.
And so we go in, now we get our heart broken and we can't figure out, why am I in this situation? But when you take time to pause, think about it, I like you say to journal, you realize that there was red flags from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so you just chose to not do anything about them and
Mm-hmm.
felt like, you know how you convince ourselves, oh, it'll get better.
Exactly.
That's okay. That's just how they are. They like that. But are they really just like that? Or are they really, sometimes they are like that, and you have to decide, is this the difficult person that I want to deal with? Or
Mm-hmm.
is this a sign that this individual is treating me this way because they don't want to really be with me anyway? But I wanna. But the key in dating, and you have to identify the dating stages. Is it really just that this is somebody that I met, I'm friends, and we're getting to know each other? And then have they both mutually decided that we're going to step it up a little bit? And then have they really stepped it up? The problem is some things go so unsaid that
Mm-hmm.
we have to really answer the probing question of the silence that we don't want to deal with. And so we definitely have to make sure that you're asking the right questions. You're identifying the stage of the relationship, and then you ask, am I being unrealistic? But I think the only way that you're going to heal and get an answer as to and be changed,
Mm-hmm.
to open your heart to love again, is that when you really learn how to date. The problem is none of us really, there was really no blueprint. A lot of parents
Exactly.
didn't tell you, even though you might have had a parents that were married, or you might have had parents that were divorced, or you might have had parents that passed away ahead of, before you can even get into that section to even talk to you about it. There's so much out there that we need to learn about it before we can get into it. And it's really about, even when we're toddlers, it's all about how we learn how to have healthy relationships, that we can get into healthy relationships. But we also have to go through some of those challenges to
Mm-hmm.
realize, I'm not going to go through this. Because even if there is a breakup, and even if it is a challenge and you're having a difficult time, it's temporary. It's going to pass, but you got to go
Mm-hmm.
through it. And the
Yeah.
key about it is, when I talk about learn from it, it's really grow from it. So
Yes.
maybe you got in it when you were a little bit immature, you know, and you kind of have to put things in perspective. Is this relationship taking away from me,
Mm-hmm.
or is it adding to me? Is this
Exactly.
relationship really making me better, or is it making me worse?
Mm-hmm.
Am I being the best person for this individual, or am I just taking up space and time? So I think when we can categorize it and really figure out how, if we're really dealing with it from an immature level and a mature level, the problem is we don't even give time to think about what we go through. We just go through the motion and not really sit back and really identify, number one, am I my best self with this person or in this situation? Is this person adding value, and am I adding value to them?
Mm-hmm.
And are we good for each other? Or is it where we really should not even be moving forward, saying we're dating and we're just good just being friends? But then with that, you have to kind of clarify the friend zones too.
Yeah.
So clarifying questions are always important, and not just going based on assumptions and silence to determine where the relationship is.
And pay attention to what they say to you. Like, if they tell you up front they're not looking for a relationship, they're not going to change their mind. I don't care how much you buy them, what you do for them, how much you cook for them. If they tell you up front they do not want a relationship, believe them.
And,
I,
I love that. I mean, that is so true. The first thing, if you're going to buy anything for somebody, the only thing it would be is a card. It's too early in the relationship when you don't really know who they're
mhm.
about, where they come from. You don't know the truth about their life and their background. You don't know enough about them to be buying gifts or whatever. And I say that because so often, if you meet someone around Valentine's Day, if you meet them
Mhm.
around your holiday or your birthday, you have these expectations, that you impose on yourself,
Yeah.
that you should buy this, or you guys talk about it, but you really need to identify the gift giving. And a lot of women that giving out money. Money should not be the first thing that you share with this individual. Um, you want to know that, is this person a good steward with their money? Are they in a good place with their money? Can they really operate? Um, I have a college student, a college son, and I told him, I said, right now everything is Dutch. You can't even afford being, we're still giving to you, so you can't really afford a girlfriend. you
Mm-mm.
know you can't afford a girlfriend. You can't put those expectations on you, and people can't impose those things on you. And I think about my days growing up, like, um really, one of the things are, can you even really afford being a dating,
Yeah.
especially if you're working paycheck to paycheck and there's no money in between, and you want to try to go out, and you're not paying the bills that are necessary. You're rather spending it to look good, that you're spending it on someone, and all behind, you're behind in your bills and your obligations, from a financial aspect. So a lot of times that's where you have to identify that realistic and unrealistic expectations of where the relationship is.
Yeah, and I like the when you said ask the real questions, ask appropriate questions. We need to stop asking people what's their favorite color. What do you like to do for fun? I'm guilty of that. Ask them, okay, what are your values? What are your morals? Like myself, I've never been married and I desire marriage. On the first date, I start asking, do you want to get married? If they've divorced, do you want to get married again? If they say no, it's like, okay, well, they're not going to change their mind, so why entertain that? I mean, I'll enjoy the time that, on the date or whatever, but after that, no, you don't want to get married. So that rules that one out. Do you have integrity? Do you love the Lord? Things like that. We need to ask those substantial questions instead of asking those, superficial questions, and rule out people from the jump.
And identify what that means, though. Identify what that means. Do you love the Lord? Because
Exactly, that's
I
true.
can love the Lord as long as you're gonna keep going out with me. And I said I love the Lord. Yeah, I love him. But do you really love him? So you observe
You
him,
honor him.
right? You
Exactly, yes.
observe him. Is he a servant in his church? How does
Yes.
he serve? Is he quick to be absent from church than he is to be in church? And I don't, and that's all levels of membership or partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a deacon. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you more out of church than you are serving. So really, are you really on the roster? Like,
Yes.
for real. I'm a minister. I love the Lord, but are you really trying to live a life of abstinence, serving God? Do
Exactly.
you really value how God would have a woman and a man treat each other? Just not even in marriage, but just in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Are you somebody that I can trust? But how do you know if it's somebody that you can trust? You spend time with them. You talk about their day. You talk about situations in their life, and you can tell whether they have been honest or dishonest with circumstances. If they're always, you know, um, do we really mesh together? Are we really a good fit? Do we
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of conflict? And what are our conflicts? When do we really get a little stiff or a little shaken up a little bit on
Mm-hmm.
certain topics? Um, I always tell women, don't give out so much information. Get it from him first. Because
Mm-hmm.
what happens is, and it can go both ways. I know it can, but I know more women that tells everything on the first date or first conversation. And now
Mm-mm.
they have your card. So if you say, oh, I like this, I like that, he could play right on into it.
Yeah.
But he's not going to buy the most expensive thing either. He's going to buy the cheapest thing. He said, oh, it was so nice. I got this,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, be careful. How about we just get to know each other? How about we just have conversation? Maybe a movie isn't the first time we go out on a date.
Mm-hmm.
That should not be our first date. Um, Maybe even dinner might not be. It doesn't, because really it doesn't matter just because the person takes you to your favorite restaurant or take you there. Is that really how they like to spend their time? I mean, are they doing it just because you want it and they sacrificed it? But how about becoming friends first? Friends with no benefits. How about be
Exactly.
friends as to how we meet our own girlfriends, our regular friends? How do we get to know, how do I get my BFF? How am I going to just develop that relationship to get to know that person and find out more about them? Find out about, yeah, what is your background? You know, I came from X types of parents. What was your family like? You know, Instead of telling them all the siblings you have and their personalities, ask him about his and his relationship. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people say how he treats his mom is how he's going to treat his wife. In some instances, that's not true.
Right.
I beg to differ that, because I see a lot of them that have a lot of good relationships with their parents and with their
Mm-hmm.
moms,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't always respect the other woman. They don't always respect that woman the way that he should respect it. Mom earned her respect.
That's
How am I
true.
going to, how is this, how do you, my daddy earned his respect. What are you going to do to earn your respect with me?
That's good.
The trustworthiness,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a given just because you seem nice and you got a job. you know
Mm-mm.
Everybody can have that. um, you don't base relationships off of what people have. It goes back to the integrity that you talked about earlier. um,
Mm-hmm.
See the individual for face value, for who they really are, not who you want them to be or who you want them to become. And get out of your head right now, you can't change him, you can't
Mm-hmm.
change her. They are who they are when they show you their card. So just develop a nice, healthy relationship.
Yeah. Friendship. I like
uh,
that.
a friendship, not trying to get together so quickly. How about we just spend a little time together? Some people are big on what a person spends on you. I
Oh,
like
I
the
do.
simplest things. How about, just simple things? Just how about I just get to know the simple you? uh,
Exactly.
and then going in a relationship, not like you got everything right. We're not all perfect. None of us are perfect going in relationships. um, be realistic about it and be authentic. Be your authentic self. Don't try to be who you're not. um, Lay it out for who you are. Not just put it out there like bam, but give some caveat to it. Give some
Yeah.
little, take your time with it. And what's the rush? Because a
Exactly.
lot of times people are not really financially ready to get married, even though they want to go to that big step. It's a
Mm-hmm.
desire of mine. But most importantly, I have to realize, as a Christian, God, is this someone you really want me to get to know, or is this somebody that's just coming in here to disrupt my life?
Yeah.
Is this the enemy camouflaging what could be a chaotic mess in the end? Is this going to be a head-on collision with the enemy just to give me a test when I've said yes to you, Lord? Does this person respect your values, your morals, who you are, your voice, your thoughts, your what you stand for? Do they respect what they stand for? If it's opposite of what you're desiring, do they can they wait? Can they willingly wait for you? You
Mm-hmm.
know, can they willingly wait as to go through the process of getting to know you? I always say, when you were dating, like, who's the real Mike? Who's the real Veronica? Let me. People say that.
Yes.
I know when I was dating, I might be dating myself, but you won't get to know me overnight. You won't get to know
Mm-mm.
me in an hour or a couple of hours. It's going to take some time. Are you willing to go through the process to get to know me? And that's really what we have to say to people.
Yeah, and those are all, ways that we can avoid getting rejected or going through that rejection is
Mhm.
getting to know people, developing that friendship, asking the right questions.
And rejection does not have to be a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm all for, don't prolong the rejection. Let me know right now, because time is of the essence, right? And
Mhm.
your time is important. My time is of importance. We value each other's time. And if we're not on the same page about what we are desiring, it doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean that we cannot be friends. It just means that we're going to take a pause, and this is not the area of moving forward in a relationship.
Mhm.
you know so that's why it's so critical to get to know the individual, identify and ask clarifying unsaid, unspoken words into questions. And
Absolutely.
when there's someone that has other children, you do want to see what that relationship is. Are they coming out of a volatile situation? Are they bringing you into a volatile situation? Are you bringing
Mhm.
them into a volatile situation? Is this the right time for me to date right now when my children are running amok? you know, is this the right time for me to really take on someone else and his children when I said I don't like children, or what I can't even control my own children right now? Is this an
Mhm.
area that needs to be blended now? Is this a relationship that needs to be blended? And when you're a woman and a man, don't introduce your children first. I know when
No.
I was growing up, women introduced their significant others so quickly to their children that the children was calling him daddy, and maybe in a month, 6 months, a week,
Mm.
3 days, he was no longer around. And they're like, well, where's daddy? And you keep bringing all these men and women around your children, and they don't know what's going on. That's not teaching them how to have healthy relationships and to live a healthy lifestyle. So we
Mhm.
have to be careful and navigate the fullness of our life and the fullness of the individuals that are in our lives to be able to share all of that.
Yeah, I like also when you said you pray, because I often will pray and say, Lord, reveal them to me. Like, show me, is this the person? Before I get deeply involved, just reveal them, show their true colors. And sometimes we pray that prayer and God really answers it and starts revealing things, but then we ignore them. Like,
So
okay,
you
Lord, show me something else.
God shows
So,
you, he shows you it, and then that's that caution tape. We go over it. We don't caution.
I
But
know.
you're exactly right. And I think we need to be more cautious about who we invite into our lives,
Hmm.
and whose lives we're trying to blend with ours. It's important. I heard you say, you desire to be married. You want to
Hmm.
date with a purpose. Uh,
Exactly.
but you got to see where you align with your value system, with your faith. A lot of people, a lot of women and men who say, and we talked about this earlier, we want a man that believes in God or have a relationship with God. And sometimes we can often tell whether they do or not, right?
Hmm.
And we know that they don't, but we still want to go ahead and proceed.
Yeah.
Um, God shows us something that you might have prayed for. It happens. He reveals it.
Hmm.
And then you go back and you say, well, God, I don't know. Was this really? So when we pray that we really want, and, also pray that God help me to really receive what I'm asking for right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like, show me in my heart, Lord, what I'm asking for. I
Hmm.
say this, I have this long laundry list, but God, I need you to capture what kind of man you want in my life. That's
Exactly.
how you can invite and be open to new relationships after the rejection, after the hurt, after the disappointment, after the pain. Is that when you totally surrender to God
Hmm.
and you allow Him to work on your heart, And then when you're listening and you're in a relationship with him, he will tell you. He would say,
Yeah, he
not
will.
right now. He would say, not this one, you know.
Hmm.
And then you think about individuals that have a lot of stuff going on in their life. You got a lot going on. This might not be the right time to date. It
Exactly.
doesn't say that we might not be friends, but it's just not the right time to date.
Exactly.
And really something that we need to do now in the century that we're living in is, are you really financially able to date? And
Yeah.
what does that mean for you?
Hmm.
What does that mean for you? Asking questions like that. Those are really, really good. And it takes having conversations with your girlfriends. It's okay to have powwows and conversate about it. Get other people's thoughts and opinions about it. Value yours as well, but sometimes talking to other people help us to know how to navigate those things that we're not good at. We're not good at
Exactly.
discerning if this is a good man or a bad woman, or we're not sure if she's what this all
Hmm.
means and where it's going. But when we talk to someone that can help us, it could be a coach, it could be if you have some stuff going on and you're not really ready to, it's okay to have a therapist to
Yeah.
help you navigate that process, because the important piece is finding out what's going to work best for you in the season that you're in.
So you got this person, they've been rejected. What do you like to share with men or women who need to feel empowered and seek purpose in life?
Sometimes we have to take a pause and we have to work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we get in relationships not really knowing what we want.
Yeah.
We move when how the wind blows. So that's why I say pause, take some time. We don't really know ourselves before we go get in a relationship with a person.
Yeah.
So after that rejection, that's what you do, is you sit back and you learn about you. You learn your likes. You learn areas that you need to grow in. You learn about areas that you need to work on, that you need to tweak to be a better you. Self-care, taking care of you. When you get in a relationship, can you take care of yourself
Mm-hmm.
if it don't work? Not
Yeah.
putting a spin on it, but you want to be able to take care of yourself now and when you get in the relationship. Oftentimes, we're looking for some knight in shining armor to dash us away, and we don't have to do anything. It takes work on both parties to be in a relationship. It takes financial work for both parties to be in a relationship. It takes work on both parties to be emotionally fit for the relationship, to be mentally fit for the relationship, to be physically fit for the relationship. Just how we take care of our body to make sure that we're healthy, we have to make sure that what we're getting into is healthy. Not to say if we realize that this is not healthy for me, I'm not sure we really wanted to move forward. Let's make a decision to work on ourselves to be better, so that we can have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And then to not have the knowledge, the lack of knowledge, the lack of wisdom. Um, those things can help. Those things are the things that will not um, produce the empowerment that you need, or um, the purpose. I hear people oftentimes, and you've said it, dating with a purpose. But what does that mean for you? I think you need to sit back and really think about, what does that mean for you when you say dating with a purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do you explain that to someone that you meet? How do you have that conversation?
Yeah.
Those are things that and those are individual based, because what I look for, you don't look for. What the other person want may look different to you, but can they mesh together? Opposites attract, but but then there's also, you need to have some common ground. You need to
Mm-hmm.
have something in common, something of interest, something that helps you to know, like, wow, we can work at this together.
I know you touched a little bit on this earlier about, some people, when they get rejected or come out of a relationship, they feel like they've lost something. How do you coach somebody that feels like they're not whole? How can they gain that wholeness? Because some people feel like I don't feel whole because I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody to complete me. So how would you tell that person that feels like, okay, how can I make myself feel whole just, within myself?
Well, number one, I think I talked about it earlier, is don't look for someone else to validate your wholeness. And you work on yourself. Not everyone is faith-based, but for the faith-based believer, the one that believes in Jesus Christ or have a relationship with Jesus, is that you look to Jesus to show you how to rebuild yourself, right? How reflect on what has gone on, what has happened, what role you played in it. And it's okay, you don't want to blame the other person, but in your eyes, what are you saying that the other person has done? And when you write it out and you really look at it, you realize I contributed to that too, because if both parties contributed to the breakup, one more than the other, possibly at times. The reason why the breakup isn't always amicable, one had a different view of the relationship than you did. So get in the relationship. Don't have a bird's eye view of it. But then sometimes you do need to have a bird's eye view of it so that you can really see what's really going on. But I think with getting whole is working on yourself. Nobody could take care of you better than you. But you have to get into programs that are going to help you if you've come out and you're just so wounded. You have to get into a coaching program or some type of therapy. You have to build a relationship with God, because also realize that having a relationship with God can also help you learn about what He desires of you and His perspective of you, because He likes the wholeness of you. He likes the good, the bad, the ugly. He likes you when you're broken. He likes you when you're not, But the thing about it is that you navigate life centered around God. This is for the veteran. This is for the faith-based person, and not centered around the other person being your God.
Amen. Yeah.
And so taking time to know who God is in your life, for those that are unbelievers, know where He really does show up. Because even though you may not be a believer, He's present. He's present. And recognize Him for that. And a lot of times we have to go really deep, and we have to ask God to help us with the heart. Our healing is going to come from God and not another individual.
Exactly.
And when you get in a relationship, talk about expectations. What's a deal breaker? Talk about the red flags. Talk about what you see. And it doesn't even have to be, it doesn't even have to go left when it needs to go right. It's all about how you approach the situation. And that's with timing and scheduling time to sit down and talk about those things. But number one, you have to work on yourself. And there's a few little other things all in. And when you work on yourself, you'll be able to dissect what you need to do for yourself. Building up your self-esteem, knowing your value and your worth, knowing that I'm beautiful even if no one tells me that. I had someone taking up all my time. Now I'm by myself. Well, let me learn how to be with me.
Exactly.
Let me learn how to let me get the things that I need to equip myself to be a good person, to be a person that can navigate life by myself, if this is where this season is leading me to be without anyone. And then just navigate. If you have children and you've been rejected and whatever, you got to work. It's not just you, it's you and the children got to work and navigate through that and get the therapy, get the help that's necessary if that is what needs to happen. But I think you have to work on yourself and really look in the mirror and accept you for who you are, and look in the mirror and really work on those things that you know you need to work on for yourself, and realize that other people's opinions really don't matter.
Yeah.
What matters most is that you are living your life in alignment with what God wills for you. And so a lot of that is knowing what you're really here for. God, why am I really here?
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
sowing 100% into this relationship and it is not working, but I've given you less than that. So now it's like, I could have flipped the script. I've been giving more time to this individual when really it's not working, because I haven't even first of all, thanked God, not just for the person, but thank God that he woke me up this morning, and that anything that happens in my life today and otherwise is because of him.
Exactly.
So putting God where he is. A lot of times our relationships don't work because we've taken God out of our order.
Thank you. Yeah. That's good.
He used to
I'm
be
guilty of
first.
that.
He used to be
Yes.
first. You meet somebody, it's just that. It's just like when you meet a
Yeah.
faraway cousin. You don't drop everything for that cousin. You build up that relationship with that cousin, right? Not that, but the same scenario in the sense that when you meet someone, you don't drop your whole life. You still got a job that you got to work on, that needs to pay your mortgage, that needs to provide for you. You don't go skipping work for the sake to be with someone. If you're going to take PTO and vacation, you better definitely use it wisely. Let it work for you.
That's good.
I think sometimes we have to realize that when we meet people, we don't drop our life as if it did not exist before you met them.
Yeah.
What you're going to do is you're going to mold both lives together, because we're two people that had separate lives. Now we're considering an opportunity to get to know each other. One of the wisest, and that's some things that I learned from my own sisters to share with me. How to date. You don't drop everything for somebody that you meet. You don't even know them. And the same thing is, you give that to that same person not to drop everything for you.
Exactly.
So that's why you have to know your self-worth. You have to build up your own self-confidence. You have to know who you are. And not let other people validate you. Look to God to validate you. Look to God to direct you to your soulmate. If it's singleness in this season, embrace it. And embrace it with joy, with gladness,
Yeah.
Embrace it, because now I have all the opportunities to do what I want to do. I'm free. I'm not bound by somebody to tell me where I can go, can't go, whether we can afford it or we can't afford it. Enjoy it. Get all of that stuff out of you anyway, so that when you have someone new in your life, and say it does lead to marriage, now the two of you can find new things to do.
Exactly.
So often we come with the whole package that we don't sometimes, and not that it's not a bad thing, but sometimes we need to let people know, this is men and women, that I have room for you. The rejection comes when they don't show you that they have room for you.
Yeah.
Do you have room for me in your life?
Exactly.
I mean, when you really get down to it, just think about that for a minute. I mean, many they say, "Oh, I'm busy. I got this." Well, okay.
They're not going to make you a priority.
Right. But you don't, when you're dating, you don't always have to be the priority, because you're just dating. There's no ring on your finger. There's no obligations. And then have you really made a commitment? Right. So until a real commitment is there, is only when you can start mutually making those goals together and putting some things together for a strategic plan for the relationship to move forward. But if it's just dating, it's just that. But you have to recognize and identify the stages of the relationship, because relationships evolve, people evolve, and we have to be careful not to have unrealistic expectations in those situations, and that's why we can't handle the rejection, because we haven't really had some clear clarification as to what we are in the relationship. So that's why.
Yeah. And I was thinking, you were saying, self-care. Self-care is not just about going, getting a pedicure or makeover or anything like that. Self-care is some of the things you were talking about, knowing your value, your self-worth, spending time with God, praying, those things like that, spending time with yourself. That's also self-care. So we need to get out of that, mindset of, oh, I got self-care day, I'm going and get me a massage and this and that. But what about just giving God your time, thinking about yourself, knowing your self-worth, look in that mirror and say, I see you, things like that.
Girl, I love you. I love you.
Yes.
I would not want to not be you, right?
Yeah.
I love who I am. Those are really great affirmations or wordings, like you were saying. But in when you think about the whole you, and when you think about self-care, that's the whole you. You want to be mentally fit. Fix the things in your mind that are causing you to feel the rejectedness, to feel the despair. Fix the emotional piece of it. And with that emotional piece, it deals with your heart. Fix your heart. Let God in. Let him recertify who he say you are. Let him put his stamp and seal back on you.
Amen.
And then physically fit. You don't move the way you used to move, and you need to go and make those doctor's appointments, annual appointments, making sure you're right. The doctor said you got diabetes on the rise and it runs in your family. You have to change your eating habits. So when we think about all of that, doing everything that makes that is going to help the whole me, and mental, emotionally, physical, that's our whole well-being. And all of that impacts, and you're a nurse, right? You're a doctor, practitioner. That is what's going to feed all of the internal organs to be healthy.
You're right.
When we think about that. So it's not really the outer you that you're going to be working on, because you already have the natural beauty. It's the internal things that are causing the mental illness or unstableness in your the emotional state, and the physical state, because you're not working on inside. And that's what I like. I like a saying that I grew up with, and it said, God works on the inside, not the outside. Why? Because we ask him into our heart, into our life, and we have the Holy Spirit who leads and guides from the inside. He speaks utterances that we don't even know to God on our behalf. So invoking the Trinity of God, not just the pieces that you think might work right now. Take them all. I want, just like you want the whole you, I want the whole God, because in the whole God, there is fullness of life. And so he will give you fullness of life when you impart the fullness of him through the Trinity.
That's good. And then also, because I like your motto, when you say, I am not whole unless my sister is whole. Surrounding yourself, the right people, like you said previously. But I love that motto. I'm not whole unless my sister is whole.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes. And really, you're not. I can't be happy in my life or feel like I got it together when I'm not going to help the sister that I see wounded, the sister that I see hurt, the sister that I see going through, and I'm successful. I need to look in my circle and help those around me. So
that's good.
That's it.
Wow, this really inspires me. I hope it inspires all the listeners. This was good. You have any lasting words for anyone that's listening? Encouraging words? You had a whole lot of encouragement. This has really helped me, Lord.
Because we started out saying about rejection. And I say, don't let the rejection be your direction, of leading you to something that is not the path that God desires of you, right? Let the rejection fuel you to be motivated to become who God says you are. That's why I'm like, embrace the Trinity of God, embrace the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, because that is what's going to feed you emotionally, mentally, physically, and most importantly, give you the self-esteem and the boldness and the confidence that you need by Him coming into your heart, Him
Mhm.
nurturing your heart. You know, your heart is the most precious organ
Yes, it
that
is.
fuels life, right? And so, if the heart is the most precious organ, and that's where Jesus resides, that's where the Lord resides, why wouldn't
Hmm.
you let Him in? Just let Him in. Let Him in, because that is going to help you through any rejection in your life, anything. And then I just also just want, when you feel like you just can't go on, when you feel like, oh, this was the last rejection, I can't take no more, look in the mirror and say, I see you. You are
Yes, I love that.
beautiful. You are beautiful. You are wonderfully and uniquely made just for God. Not man, not woman, but just for God.
Yes. I'm gonna start saying that. Like, I see you, Amy. I see you, girl. You a bad woman.
I have to clap because you got it, Amy. That's what it's all
Yes.
about.
I love that.
I don't care
Woo.
who don't see me. I see me. I see me.
Exactly. Woo.
You
That
know,
is so good.
I see you, girl. You look good. You look like you're $1 million about to walk out the door and go take on the world today.
Amen. I love it. Well, Miss Veronica Williams, thank you so much. I enjoyed this. I hope everyone else did. This is another episode of Life Conversations with Dr. Amy. If y'all haven't subscribed, hit that like button, subscribe, and you're gonna enjoy this. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Amy. I look forward to talking real soon.
Thank you.